Baldoni has filed his opposition to Blake Lively's 12b6, and
she wants us to believe this is actionable harassment, what we just witnessed there. You tell me whether that's what that looks like to you.
The celebrities are gossiping about drama amid Baldoni.
And that what in fact happened was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it.
Blake Lively completely exposes herself.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds became the epitome of modern Hollywood royalty, almost by default. She rose to fame through a teen drama series that captured cultural moments, morphing into an A-list star who brought both glamour and a down-to-earth persona to red carpets everywhere. Ryan, on the other hand, was the comedic darling-turned-Marvel sensation. His portrayal of Deadpool catapulted him into an echelon of stars adored by fans and studios alike. Their combined charm was a treasure trove for publicity outlets, who hailed them as the new comedic it couple. They joked about each other on Twitter, poked fun in talk show interviews, and exuded a brand of breezy cool that felt enviable and relatable at once. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni was carving out his own niche. His emotional approach to storytelling made him a cult favorite among those seeking genuine, heartfelt narratives. From philanthropic efforts to social media initiatives that promoted empathy and vulnerability, he gathered a loyal following that appreciated his seemingly sincere approach to life. Many predicted that if Baldoni teamed up with big Hollywood names, he could shift the industry's attitude toward more meaningful content, something beyond the standard blockbusters. It was a perfect storm, a thoughtful creator, Justin, and a beloved power couple, Blake and Ryan, collaborating on a film adaptation of It Ends With Us, a novel that already had a massive following. For a while, the synergy was exactly what fans imagined. Photographs surfaced showing Baldoni and Reynolds laughing at fundraisers, comfortable in each other's space as if they'd been lifelong friends. Blake was rumored to share an excellent working dynamic with Justin, praising his sensitivity as a director. The project was under the media spotlight, touted as the next blockbuster that might even snag an awards season nod. But as early production kicked off, subtle hints of disagreement started to leak out. Was Blake pushing for creative control over certain scenes? Did Ryan want final say in marketing and promotional deals? Were there quiet tensions about who truly owned this adaptation? At first, such rumors floated by as inconsequential talk, typical small bumps in any big production. Nobody suspected these minor grumblings would spiral into the legal storms we see today. Behind the glossy Instagram posts and carefully curated interviews, suspicions grew. Some insisted the first sign of trouble came when the script underwent unannounced revisions to accommodate what Blake allegedly demanded, a heavier focus on her character's emotional journey. Justin, known for collaborative processes, was initially receptive, but insiders whispered that repeated rewrites slowed production. Others speculated that Ryan, whose comedic instincts shaped his own film successes, clashed with Baldoni's more somber storytelling style. Whichever rumor you choose to believe, one truth remains. It wasn't long before the entire production felt like a minefield. Everyone kept quiet, hoping the situation would diffuse itself. In hindsight, that silence seemed to be the perfect breeding ground for the tension that ultimately exploded. The first public flare-up arrived when, seemingly out of nowhere, Blake Lively filed a lawsuit in late 2024, accusing Justin Baldoni of inappropriate conduct on set. Specifically, she alleged moments that left her feeling humiliated and vulnerable during production, a scenario that struck many as peculiar, given her initial praise for Justin's directorial sensitivity. Almost overnight, the tabloids erupted, highlighting phrases like harassment and unprofessional behavior. On social media, fans of Blake and Ryan quickly rallied in support, calling for the film industry to remove Baldoni from the Iowa project. Meanwhile, those who'd admired Baldoni's prior work voiced disbelief, stating that the claims didn't align with his known track record. Ryan Reynolds, famous for his comedic persona yet fiercely protective of his family, was not shy about firing back in the press. He described Baldoni in terms that cast him as a dangerous figure, undeserving of trust in Hollywood. To make matters worse, rumors emerged that Ryan had confronted Baldoni personally at a private gathering in his Manhattan penthouse. The alleged presence of Taylor Swift and other celebrity friends only amplified the drama. Did Ryan verbally lash out at Justin in front of a crowd who felt too uncomfortable to intervene? Accounts differ, but each version shares a common thread. The friendly veneer was shattered in a way that couldn't easily be repaired. What escalated everything? From salacious headlines to full-blown legal meltdown was Baldoni's response. Rather than retreat under the weight of public condemnation, he fought back with a massive countersuit. $400 million worth of defamation and malicious interference claims targeting not just Blake, but also Ryan. If the sum alone didn't raise eyebrows, the allegations contained within sure did. Baldoni claimed that the couple orchestrated a fake PR campaign to tarnish his image and blackball him from major studios. From leaks to major newspapers to orchestrated statements from high-profile influencers, Baldoni painted a picture of an elaborate character assassination designed to hand creative control to Blake and Ryan. The velocity of Baldoni's countersuit startled many observers. Lawsuits of that scale are rare, and a countersuit in the hundreds of millions is even rarer. Some thought it was merely a scare tactic meant to push the lively Reynolds camp into a quick settlement. Others believed Baldoni was genuinely livid at the couple's attempts to discredit him and sought to clear his name definitively. Gossip outlets churned out minute-by-minute updates, while fans on social media debated the moral, ethical, and practical dimensions of this swirling conflict. In a matter of weeks, a storm that had been quietly brewing turned into a Category 5 hurricane, slamming directly into Hollywood's shores, with no sign of calm in sight. People unfamiliar with the backstory might ask, weren't Ryan Reynolds and Justin Baldoni friends? Indeed, they were. Only months before this feud, they were photographed together at charity runs, philanthropic galas, and film festivals. Some even called them ambassadors of feel-good Hollywood, a pairing that combined comedic flair with heartfelt sincerity. It's why the sudden breakdown stunned fans who had followed their banter on social media, where they joked about each other's projects and teased future collaborations. Insiders close to the trio say the trouble began long before the official. Lawsuits emerged. Quiet arguments over creative decisions seemed to sow seeds of distrust. Sources claim Ryan occasionally overstepped his boundaries, attempting to rewrite comedic scenes that Justin wanted to keep dramatic. Meanwhile, Justin allegedly tried to maintain an art-first approach, pushing for scenes that might not align with the crowd-pleasing style Ryan excels at. Although creative disagreements are normal in filmmaking, the tension reportedly took a personal turn when Ryan and Blake began speaking to studio executives behind Justin's back, suggesting he was too green at directing large-scale productions. The penthouse showdown in Manhattan has become part of modern Hollywood lore. Some say it was the moment the bromance definitively collapsed. Attendees, including a Sony representative and a sprinkling of A-listers, recounted a scenario where Ryan confronted Justin over the direction of It Ends With Us, scolding him for not prioritizing some comedic bits or reshoots that Ryan felt were critical for the film's commercial success. The presence of Taylor Swift, who's known to be a close friend of Blake, added another layer of intrigue. Though few details are fully confirmed, the general belief is that the argument was so intense, it left many onlookers speechless. For a long time, no one breathed a word. Hollywood gatherings thrive on secrecy, and big names prefer to keep rifts hidden. But once lawsuits started flying, the story poured into the tabloids, fueling speculation that the confrontation was the powder keg that ignited a full-blown war. It wasn't just personal relationships that suffered. Professional alliances began to crumble as well. William Morris Agency, known for repping major talent, reportedly dropped Baldoni soon after the initial wave of Blake's harassment claims. Fans of Baldoni suspect that Ryan leveraged his high-profile influence to encourage that drop, effectively isolating Justin from potential career opportunities. Ryan's camp insists they had nothing to do with it. After all, agencies must consider what's in their best interest. But the timing certainly looked suspicious, raising questions about whether the perfect couple was using behind-the-scenes maneuvers to ensure Baldoni became a Hollywood pariah. Meanwhile, Baldoni found new representation determined to clear his name and launch an aggressive countersuit. The cracks of distrust and bitterness only grew, transforming the entire situation from a private rift to an all-out battlefield of public relations disasters. One focal point in Blake's lawsuit is the now infamous birth scene from It Ends With Us. In an emotionally charged sequence depicting the final stage of childbirth, actor Adam Machine was cast in a role that required close physical proximity to Blake's character. According to court documents, Blake describes the filming setup as invasive, disorganized, and humiliating, allegations that, on paper, sound jarring. The twist, however, is that behind-the-scenes accounts tell a different story. By most accounts, the scene was planned meticulously. Production schedules detailed wardrobe specifics, hospital gown, black shorts, and a prosthetic belly. And every move was supposedly blocked out beforehand to maintain a safe and comfortable environment. Initial reports from the set indicated that Blake was in agreement with how the scene would be shot, praising Justin Baldoni for his empathy and thoroughness. It was only later, after discovering Adam Machine was a longtime friend of Baldoni, that Blake's stance flipped, claiming the scene had crossed boundaries and lacked her true consent. Adam Machine himself came forward to dispute Blake's claims, calling them bewildering. He pointed out that filming is almost never a solitary affair. There are multiple crew members, cameras, sound technicians, and often a script supervisor ensuring everything aligns with pre-approved guidelines. If Blake had felt distressed, Adam insisted there were numerous channels for her to speak up, whether to the director, producers, or her own representation. Skeptics of Blake's storyline interpret her allegations as a strategic move to strengthen the harassment narrative, emphasizing that she remained publicly cordial with the entire team until rumors of Justin's friend circle came to light. 1. Factor fueling more suspicion was Justin Baldoni's release of behind-the-scenes footage. In these clips, Blake appears calm, smiling, even laughing with Justin and other members of the cast. There's no indication of distress or hostility. Many watchers concluded that if she had truly felt violated, her approach to the scene wouldn't appear so open and relaxed. Others argue that trauma can manifest after the fact, especially if an individual realizes a personal boundary was crossed. Still, that argument lost traction when it became known that the script, shooting angles, and positions had all been formally cleared well in advance. Industry watchers say the whole situation underscores how quickly a consensual creative choice can turn into a contested flashpoint when personal animosity fuels the narrative. In a sphere where perception can propel or sink entire careers, Hollywood's reaction to Blake and Ryan's sudden legal aggression was swift. Studios and production companies, acutely aware that any whiff of scandal can derail a multi-million-dollar project, began distancing themselves from the couple. Blake's once promising deals for new roles quietly vanished. Scripts that might have been earmarked for her were reportedly handed off to other actresses whose reputations were still pristine. Although none of the major film houses issued official statements blacklisting the pair, it became common knowledge in industry circles that involvement with the lively Reynolds brand now carried significant risk. Ryan, who had built a golden boy persona partly by engaging fans on social media in playful, light-hearted ways, experienced his own freeze. Colleagues who once lauded his comedic timing and unpredictably charming nature now kept him at arm's length. Insiders mentioned that comedic projects sought other leads, perhaps to avoid negative press or potential creative conflicts. The irony is that Ryan's brand was all about spontaneity, improvisation, and stardom free from pretense. Yet the lawsuits painted him as combative, vengeful, and possibly manipulative behind the scenes. The abrupt shift in how executives viewed him was jarring and reflective of Hollywood's zero-tolerance approach to controversies that might overshadow a film's box office returns. Even longtime supporters started to inch away. Taylor Swift, known to be incredibly loyal to her friends, reportedly declined an invitation to speak about Blake during one of her promotional appearances, citing a reluctance to inflame an already complicated situation. Meanwhile, Colleen Hoover, the author of It Ends With Us, conspicuously removed references to Blake from her social media feed, a move that prompted widespread speculation. Could it be that she felt blindsided by the swirl of negative attention around the novel's adaptation? Or was she quietly siding with Baldoni, who many claimed had been the creative force behind making Hoover's bestseller a cinematic reality? No. Matter the cause, the message was clear. Lively and Reynolds were no longer the easily adored darlings of Hollywood. Conversations in studio offices turned from praising Blake's versatility to questioning whether she might file legal complaints. At the first sign of creative friction, phrases like unpredictable and unstable started to circle the rumor mill. For an industry that thrives on image, these descriptors are career poison. Without official blacklists or open condemnations, the effect was nonetheless palpable. Project lids stopped calling, endorsements with global brands quieted, and a swirl of negativity surrounded every mention of the couple. To many, it felt like a modern-day version of exile, ironically orchestrated by the same community that once idolized the couple's glitzy magnetism. The isolation was real, and it stung. With their circle of allies shrinking at an alarming pace, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds realized they needed a massive image reset. Fast. Blake took the first swing, leaning hard into the mother next door narrative that once endeared her to fans. Paparazzi shots of her spending quality time with her children quickly surfaced. She was photographed teaching her daughters to ride horses, wearing understated outfits that whispered, "I'm just a regular mom." The hope that the world would see a softer side and sympathize with her plight, forgetting the swirling lawsuits. But the public, and certainly Hollywood insiders, are not easily fooled. Many spotted these moments as a blatant strategy to repair a battered image. While sympathetic glimpses of a Hollywood star as a loving mother can be compelling, they didn't quell the bigger question: what about the allegations and the countersuit? No amount of wholesome pictures could fully overshadow the lawsuit's weight. Critics argued that if Blake truly felt traumatized or harassed, why divert the narrative to maternal moments instead of focusing on justice? That critique did little to help her cause. Some read it as an attempt to exploit public empathy, leading to an even sharper backlash among watchers who value consistency in personal and professional claims. Ryan pursued a different route. Long known for comedic jabs and witty social media banter, he suddenly adopted a more reserved persona. He stopped posting frequent updates, kept interviews to a minimum, and used a series of carefully curated appearances to project an air of introspective calm. In paparazzi snapshots of him at airports or stepping out of black SUVs, he looked uncharacteristically tense and serious. His fans wondered if the tension they saw was real remorse or purely strategic, an orchestrated attempt to show he was above the fray. Regardless, the sudden shift sparked buzz that maybe Ryan and Blake were no longer on the same page about how to handle the crisis. Yet these tactics did little to thaw the chill emanating from Hollywood's upper echelons. Meetings with major producers stalled or vanished. Public relations experts weighed in, analyzing every detail of the couple's new approach. Some declared it was a decent strategy that arrived far too late. By the time they pivoted to damage control, the allegations had already lodged themselves firmly in the public psyche. Others argued that the couple should have pursued a more direct statement, acknowledging missteps and extending an olive branch to Justin Baldoni. But ironically, every new statement from the couple's camp only fueled Justin's legal argument, as he interpreted their PR moves as further attempts to manipulate public opinion. The more they tried to appear wholesome, the more they seemed disingenuous, creating a cycle in which regret and public frustration fed on each other, leaving the couple stuck in an unending crisis. No star-laden feud would be complete without a maze of legal documents flying back and forth. And this saga is no exception. After Blake's initial lawsuit and Justin's colossal countersuit, Ryan filed a motion to distance himself from the entire conflict, essentially arguing that his involvement was purely as a supportive husband. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, pounced, branding Ryan as a co-conspirator responsible for defamation, blackballing, and intense personal attacks. The heart of Baldoni's countersuit alleged that Ryan wielded his celebrity status to label Baldoni a predator, effectively tanking Justin's standing in the industry. Backed into a corner, Ryan's attorneys produced reams of documents, insisting that Ryan had no direct contract with Baldoni or any official duty to protect him from negative press. Baldoni's side was equally thorough, citing alleged text messages, emails, and even voicemails that supposedly showed Ryan's direct role in the smear campaign. With both sides armed to the teeth with contradictory evidence, the case took on a life of its own. Any attempt at dismissing one claim was met with additional exhibits piling on. Observers joked that reading through all the legal filings was akin to dissecting an epic novel, filled with grudges, alliances, shocking allegations, and contradictory depositions. One particularly thorny issue is whether the couple's public. Comments crossed the line into outright defamation. Ryan's comedic persona often involves sarcastic jabs, leading him to argue that any negative statements about Baldoni were hyperbolic jokes. But in a legal setting, comedic hyperbole can be interpreted as harmful if it significantly impacts someone's reputation or livelihood. Baldoni's team contends that it was not just fun banter. These remarks, combined with behind-the-scenes calls to producers and studios, had real financial consequences for Justin's career. The contradiction remains. Ryan claims to have played no major role, while Justin's team insists Ryan aggressively made phone calls that cost Baldoni critical partnerships. In the midst of these escalating tensions, Blake attempted to have the entire $400 million countersuit thrown out, labeling it revenge litigation with no actual merit. She called on California civil code provisions that protect disclosures of sexual misconduct from retaliatory lawsuits. Yet Baldoni's lawyers countered that it's only retaliatory if the claims of misconduct are genuine, something Baldoni vehemently denies. The result is a tangled web of motions, each side accusing the other of gamesmanship. Court dockets grew heavier by the day, and both teams poured substantial resources into winning the public relations war as much as the legal one. Industry analysts predicted that if either side fails to settle, we could see a lengthy trial that airs even more dirty laundry in a forum that thrives on spectacle. As this legal storm rages on, the question on everyone's mind is, how will it all end? Typically, Hollywood feuds of this magnitude end quietly behind closed doors, with settlement papers signed in anonymity. Studios prefer to avoid the bad optics of a high-profile court battle, especially when it involves name-brand celebrities who once had bulletproof reputations. Indeed, the odds of a hush-hush settlement remain high, but in this case, pride and principle play outsized roles. Baldoni, stung by what he calls a character assassination, seems set on seeing the process through to a definitive conclusion. He's pinned a $400 million price tag on the damages he believes he suffered, a sum that, if awarded, could financially devastate even a star couple like Ryan and Blake. On the flip side, Blake and Ryan appear torn between wanting the ordeal to end and fighting for what they see as their credibility. Even if a settlement becomes an option, the cost might be more than just financial. It could entail a retraction of statements, a potential apology, or some publicly visible concession to Baldoni's innocence. After all, if they dropped the claims unconditionally, it would be a massive blow to the narrative they pushed for months. Conversely, if they decide to push their case until the bitter end, they risk even greater public backlash if a judge or jury sides with Baldoni. Beyond the immediate players, there's a growing conversation around the broader implications. Is this conflict a bellwether for how quickly Hollywood turns on its own? Or is it a lesson in how personal vendettas can overshadow genuine concerns? Are we witnessing a shift in the industry where powerful figures like Blake and Ryan can't automatically shape the narrative in their favor? Perhaps the biggest tragedy is that it ends with us. The film that fans were eagerly anticipating now feels like an afterthought. The hype for the cinematic adaptation has been replaced by curiosity about who will come out on top in a long, ugly legal slugfest. Meanwhile, the meltdown extends to social circles. The once unstoppable lively Reynolds brand now struggles to secure the endorsement deals that once poured in, and their invitations to industry events come at a trickle, if at all. Public fatigue over the scandal has set in, with many fans lamenting the overshadowing of what could have been a poignant film. Instead, the storyline centers on lawsuits, shady alliances, and personal regrets. In the end, this saga isn't just about accusations or legal documents. It's a cautionary tale about how quickly Hollywood's golden glow can fade when personal vendettas, power struggles, and legal drama collide. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds entered the ring as one of Tinseltown's most cherished couples, praised for their wit, style, and consistent box office draw. Justin Baldoni, meanwhile, was the soulful visionary looking to make meaningful cinema. Together, they should have created something extraordinary that showcased their combined strengths. Instead, they ignited a firestorm that scorched each participant's image in turn. From the moment allegations surfaced, everything that was once playful and uplifting about these personalities became tinged with suspicion and cynicism. Hollywood responded with a cold shoulder, demonstrating how sensitive it is to risk and negative press. Friends, collaborators, and entire communities of fans turned wary, wondering who was telling the real story and who was using the court of public opinion to gain an upper hand. Though no single voice holds the entire truth, the real shock lies in how quickly loyalty and camaraderie evaporated, replaced by a fierce battle that consumed everyone involved. Where does that leave us? Possibly at the cusp of more revelations, more depositions, and more abrupt shifts in public sentiment. Even if a settlement eventually ends the legal part of this feud, the reputational toll for Blake, Ryan, and Justin may be irreversible in Certain circles, some fans might hold out hope for forgiveness and redemption, while others maintain that such a breach of trust can't simply be papered over. Ultimately, the entire fiasco stands as a stark reminder that in an industry where image is currency, letting personal grudges spiral into front-page news can collapse the most pristine reputations. And, as each lawsuit hearing looms, one undeniable truth remains. For those who once thrived under Hollywood's spotlight, losing that glittering goodwill can be more devastating than any official court ruling. The final curtain hasn't fallen yet, and it might not for a very long time.